Hi, guys. Good afternoon, and welcome back once again to the EdWord. I'm your host, Eddie, and in today's video, I will be doing another video essay covering a topic that I've been wanting to talk about for quite a while now, since at least the end of last year. I got this idea, and I finally have a chance to address it because there's nothing else to talk about today, entertainment news-wise. Welcome to another video essay, where today's video essay topic will be the appeal of the anti-hero film. And I will be using numerous recent examples in TV and in cinema, mostly cinema, to talk about the highlights and the high points of the stuff that I've personally enjoyed, why I think the anti-hero is such an appealing character to so many people for so many different reasons. I'll be using a number of visual references and examples throughout, so you'll see as the video goes along here the different characters I'll be referring to, why I chose these characters, what I think makes them so appealing. And despite how their movies performed, whether it was good or bad, how I believe they still have a part to play in the future. So I'm looking forward to talking about this. So without further delay, let's talk about the appeal of the anti-hero, a video essay. Oh, and something I meant to mention earlier, this is obviously a spoiler-filled video essay because I'm going to be referring to some big spoilers for all of these respective characters and their films. So if you haven't seen Black Adam, Morbius, the first two Venom movies, or Werewolf by Night, you do not want to keep watching to or listening to this video, as I will be discussing spoilers at great length, casually dropping bombshells and whatnot. So watch this video with extreme caution, or don't watch it at all. You've been warned. So here are the four characters we're going to be covering and talking about in this video essay in no particular order. From left to right, we have Black Adam, Morbius, Venom, and Werewolf by Night. These are all recent anti-hero films that have come out within the past 2 or 3 years that I have very much enjoyed. Well, Werewolf by Night was more of a TV special released on Disney Plus last Halloween, but it was very enjoyable. I have enjoyed all of these characters and their respective films, despite how successful or non-successful they were at the box office. I do believe all these characters have a future in their respective franchises, and one of the many things they all have in common is that they have their own set of codes that they will or won't cross, and then they have lines that they do cross without thinking twice, which separates them from most leading superheroes. And they also have lines that they won't cross because they're not totally evil either. One thing they all have in common is they all have got a lot more shades of gray to them than they do of being pure evil, and that's what separates a villain from an anti-hero, is that they still have a bit of a conscience and they're not totally full-blown evil, that they usually have their own agenda, and sometimes it can be selfish, but sometimes it can be used for the greater good and ends up helping and saving people. So first up, we have Venom. I have very much enjoyed the first two Venom films, with the third one being in pre-production right now. I really enjoyed these movies. They're fun, they're exciting, they're action-packed. Venom is hilarious and foul-mouthed and crass, and the relationship and the dynamic between him and Eddie Brock, both characters played by Tom Hardy, is wholesome and funny as hell and a bit dark, and it's all the things that you want in a good anti-hero film. Because looking at him, he's clearly not handsome leading man material. He's more of the scary, menacing monster that he looks like. But just because he looks that way doesn't necessarily make him a monster, because he does have a heart. He cares about Eddie, and he cares about Eddie's girlfriend. And even though he can't stand the new man in her life, he develops, or starts to not develops feelings, but he respects him by the end of the second and most recent movie, Venom: Let There Be Carnage. And what's great about Venom is that despite his sort of love interest, he never really seems to get anywhere. Same goes for Eddie. And that's what separates an anti-hero from a superhero, is that the superhero usually gets the girl and the anti-hero is left in the cold, or at least left without the love interest at his side. But that's okay, because it means there are bigger and better things in store for him. Moving on to Black Adam, I absolutely loved this movie. It is my third favorite DC film, and despite it not doing so well financially or critically, I super thoroughly enjoyed it. I found it very satisfying, exciting, action-packed, funny at parts, and above all, really checked off all my boxes and what I was expecting for this movie. And the thing that I really liked about it is that despite his tragic backstory and origin, is that he arose more powerful than he had ever been before in his entire life. And that I felt like was really inspiring, because one of the things that I found appealing about this movie and the other anti-hero films is that most of them start out or remain underdogs, but highly powered underdogs who have earned a lot of confidence in their skill and power by the end of their respective movies. And I feel like that's what Black Adam did, especially. You know, he may have killed indiscriminately when it came to the bad guys in this film, but he had lines he wouldn't cross, like he wouldn't hurt women and children. He definitely hurt armed, nasty men, which was super entertaining and awesome for us, the audience. And he seemingly even gave a chance to the Justice Society to leave Kahndaq instead of fighting them again. But what I also really liked about this movie was that, you know, like they say about him, his darkness allows him to do what certain heroes cannot. And even though it may be crossing somewhat of a line, it doesn't fully cross the line, because what he does is in the name of peace or the safety of Kahndaq, if not the safety of the world, as the final act of the film proved to be, where he was the only one who could stop the evil demon champion from destroying the earth. And so I really enjoyed this movie a lot. I know the future may look a bit uncertain for the character, but James Gunn himself said that he looks forward to working with Johnson soon, and Johnson says that Black Adam, even though he won't appear in the first chapter of the DCU, the new DCU, there seems to be an option for the character to return wherever they want. Next, we have Morbius. I know a lot of people hated this movie, and I can certainly understand and see why. It is by no means a perfect and perhaps arguably not even a good movie, but I found it to be very entertaining and exciting, and it got me excited for the future of the character, considering the post-credit scene with the Vulture. But we don't know much about Morbius' future, if there is any, so we'll see what happens there. But I enjoyed this movie a lot, and the thing that drew me to this movie, what I found very appealing, was that he knew there was something wrong with himself, and he wanted to cure it, and not for his own selfish reasons, but he had a blood disease that he and so many others are afflicted with, that by curing himself, he could cure and save others and save countless lives. So he had a very noble reason for doing what he did to himself with his experiments, and unfortunately, it left him a bloodthirsty vampire who has to crave and have human blood. But he was able to restrain himself only to drinking the blood of bad guys, thankfully, and spared the innocents for the most part. The thing that also appealed to me about this movie is, as someone who feels like there's something wrong with him, it appealed to me that, like, hey, this guy feels like there's something wrong with him, and he's trying to take positive actions and steps to save and correct himself. And I thought that was a really cool idea, because I'm like, I wish I could do that for what I consider to be an affliction, even though it's not really an affliction. It's more something that I don't like about myself, and I'll get into that in a different video. But that's what I found so appealing about Morbius. And I liked the fight scenes. I liked the stuff with the bats. It was by no means a perfect movie, but I did find it to be very entertaining. And I certainly hope he pops up in other Marvel films, whether they be Marvel Sony films or Marvel films, concerning the character's history with Spider-Man. And last but not least, we have Werewolf by Night, as seen in his TV special that goes by the same name, which dropped on Disney Plus last October around Halloween time. Going into this special, I had absolutely no knowledge or pre-existing clues as to who or what Werewolf by Night was, but now that I've seen the special, I would absolutely love to see this character appear in the MCU in the future, whether it be in a TV show, limited series, or even movies, perhaps. Like, he could even be one of the many characters who will hopefully appear in both Avengers The Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars. That's by no means a confirmation. It's purely speculation on my end, but it would be awesome to see this character and his werewolf powers once again. What I liked about him is that he was friends with Man-Thing, a fellow beast in the MCU, and that while in werewolf form, he seemed to be able to control himself to a certain extent, or allowed himself to who he was going to target or kill in werewolf form. So what I thought was really cool, though, is that, wow, werewolves exist in the MCU. How awesome is that? And if this character could exist, what other monsters out of lore and mythology could exist in the MCU? And I guess only time will tell. But for now, it's cool knowing that there's a guy whose superpower is being a werewolf in the MCU. How awesome is that? That I find very exciting and appealing, and I certainly hope they utilize this character much more in the future moving forward, whether it's in another TV special, a limited series, or ideally movies. We'll see what happens, but I really thought this TV special was a lot of fun. I do enjoy Halloween specials, and I'm partial to monsters, of course, so the fact that a werewolf exists in the MCU is very cool and exciting to me. So where he'll pop up next, only time will tell. It's purely speculation. He'll appear in either film that I mentioned beforehand. So for now, we have the special we can just rewatch. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video essay. I hope all of my talking points proved to be interesting, engaging, if not fun. And I hope you feel the same way I do about this. And if not, do you feel differently about any of these characters? And if so, why? Do you enjoy any of these characters more than you do some of the other ones that I mentioned? Do you prefer anti-heroes over superheroes or supervillains? Let me know what you think down below in the comments section. Thank you so much for joining me for another video essay here on the EdWord. I sure hope you enjoyed it as I enjoyed making it. What did you think of this video? I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback down below. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. All the titles I mentioned are now streaming on multiple platforms, whether to rent or to purchase, or just streaming in general. So happy viewing, everyone, and I hope to see these characters sooner rather than later. Take care, and of course, until next time, may the Force be with you.